Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are well. Today is the 10th of February, and it is Tuesday. Hopefully, all you guys are having a wonderful week so far, whether you're working or at school, whatever it is. Hopefully, it's going well. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would greatly appreciate it as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month. All funds go to me, and it helps me pay for the things I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, clothing, all of that. This is a viewer-supported show, so all the support is greatly appreciated. Outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing amazing. Let's get into today's episode. Moving on into our headlines in history, the headline we have for today is Lithuania votes overwhelmingly for independence from Moscow. This is from February 10th of 1991. Droves of Lithuanians, some of them weeping with happiness, went to the polls and supported the decision by their parliament the year before to declare for independence from the Soviet Union, which had annexed the country in 1940. The Times reported the Soviet Union recognized Lithuania's independence on December of 1991. This, of course, is definitely very interesting. It talks about really the fall of the Soviet Union as a whole and all of the countries that came out of that. The specific one being mentioned, Lithuania, which was a big deal. The fall of the Soviet Union was definitely one of the most monumental parts in recent history, especially with the fact that it was like the main rival to the United States. In my opinion, at least, Russia is no longer the main rival to the United States, right? It's China. But it is definitely very interesting to talk about and discuss. Good for Lithuania for being independent, and good for all the other countries who got independence out of the fall of the Soviet Union. There were a lot of groups of people and countries that were, taken over and even oppressed. I believe a lot of people were oppressed because of the Soviet Union, which is a big deal. It really is. Outside of that, though, let's move on into our headlines for today. Moving on into the Trump administration segment. The first topic we have today is really interesting. Trump is upset over the bridge being built between Michigan and Ontario. And in a post on Truth Social, he claimed that Canada's relations to China would lead to China taking away Canada's hockey. Trump has taken to Truth Social upset over the new bridge being built between Michigan and Canada. In this post, he wrote, "As everyone knows, the country of Canada has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. Now things are turning around for the USA and fast. But imagine Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. They own both the Canada and United States side, of course, built with virtually no US content. President Barack Hussein Obama stupidly gave them a waiver so they could get around the Buy America Act or Buy American Act and not use any American products, including our steel. Now the Canadian government expects me, as the president of the United States, to permit them to just take advantage of America. What does the United States of America get? Absolutely nothing. Ontario won't even put U.S. spirits and beverages and other alcohol products on their shelves. They are absolutely prohibited from doing so, and now, on top of everything else, Prime Minister Mark Carney wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We'll just get the leftovers. I don't think so. The first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. The tariffs Canada charges us for dairy products have for many years been unacceptable, putting our farmers at great financial risk. I cannot allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything that we have given them. Also, importantly, Canada treats the United States with fairness and respect that we deserve. We will start negotiations immediately with all that we have given them. We should own perhaps at least one half of this asset. The revenues generated of the U.S. markets will be astronomical. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Everything Trump is complaining about here is, honestly been caused by him. The reasons why U.S. products aren't being sold on Canadian shelves is because of the tariffs being proposed and imposed by the United States, right? But not only that, is he not going to recognize the fact that Canada is paying for this bridge out of pocket? Like, why would we own part of something that we are not putting any money towards in the first place? That's not how the world works. Trump should know that if he's such a good businessman, right? If you want half of the bridge, then pay for half of it. Truly, like, I mean, why are we complaining? The United States is getting a bridge to connect with Canada that is being paid by Canada entirely, which will bring in Canadian residents, Canadian tourists, and money through our economy. Like, not to mention the fact that it also benefits Canada as well. But like, there is no reason why this bridge is a negative to us. There really isn't. We're not paying for it, and we only seek to gain benefits from it. Also, like, for him saying that China is going to take away Canada's hockey is wild. That's like saying the United States is going to lose the NFL, right? It's just never going to happen. I found that hilarious that he even brought that up in the first place. It makes absolutely no sense. In other news, the Trump administration has removed the pride flag from the Stonewall Monument. The National Park Service has removed the pride flag at the Stonewall National Monument, one of the latest moves against references to the LGBTQ plus community. The monument recognizes a historical Manhattan gay bar, the Stonewall Inn, where the 1969 uprising took place, which is considered a turning point for the modern LGBTQ rights movement. According to new guidance from the Department of Interior, only the U.S. flag and other congressionally or department-authorized flags are flown on NPS-managed flagpoles, with limited exceptions to any changes to flag displays are made to ensure consistency with that guidance. What are we doing, guys? Like, truly, I mean, how is removing a pride flag for a monument directly related to the LGBTQ community a good use of time? I understand that this administration is attacking history so they can better control that narrative, and get people to believe that they are doing the right thing when we all know they aren't, right? But, like, what is the point of this? Truly, there is no point. Removing an LGBTQ plus symbol from a location that is an LGBTQ plus monument is one of the dumbest things that you could ever do, because at the end of the day, that monument is still a symbol for the LGBTQ community. You're just removing the flag that they choose to have represent them, which really is just dumb. It is honestly embarrassing to hear that this is what our government is spending time doing when we have people who can barely afford to live in this country, living paycheck to paycheck, and while Americans are actively being shot by federal agents. Are we great yet, guys? Because it truly doesn't feel like it. Anyways, moving on into our segment about the Epstein files, we have a couple of topics here today. The first one being a Trump cabinet member has previously admitted to having lunch on Epstein's island. Can you guess which one it is? Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, has admitted to having lunch with Epstein on his private island. In a testimony before the Senate Appropriations Committee in 2012, Lutnick said, "I did have lunch with him, as well, or I was on a boat going across on an island on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as well were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple with me, and they were there as well with their children. And we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife all together. We were on family vacation." Look, I mean, Lutnick needs to pack it up and resign yesterday, right? This man is not going to beat the friends with Epstein allegations. They work together. They live right next to, or they lived right next to each other. He was on the island. I mean, let's be real. That's enough proof to say that they at least had some sort of relationship that was, at the very, very least, a business relationship, right? But also, who takes their family to go meet a business partner on a private island, right? To have lunch with them and all the means. Like, that to me seems a lot more of a friendly relationship than a business relationship. And like, these guys were neighbors together. More often than not, your neighbors, especially if you're working together, are probably going to be a lot closer, right? And he can claim this was a business relationship all he wants, but it really just seems like the two were pretty friendly with each other. In other news, the head of the Ohio State Gynecology Department was receiving thousands of dollars from Epstein regularly. Files from the Epstein files show the head of Ohio State University's gynecology program received quarterly payments of thousands of dollars from Epstein. Mark Landon, a physician and professor at OSU and the chair of the Obstetrics and Gynecology Department, received as much as $25,000 from Epstein every few months. According to Landon, these payments were for consulting work, and he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Landon had also received at least 10 packages from Epstein between 2001 and 2005. So, why does Epstein need the head of a gynecology department as a consultant? Like that to me just like does not make sense. Not to mention the wage of $25,000 every few months just seems a little higher than the average consulting wage, right? Just as most of the files, something about this seems odd and really doesn't line up very well. And I guess we could come to expect at this point. Take that as you will. But like it is interesting to say the least, and it's something that should be discussed, just as all of these things should be discussed and investigated, right? I mean, none of these people should be allowed to walk free. Um, you know, that's just like a fact. None of them should be allowed to walk free. They all touch children, or not all of them, but a majority of them who are involved in these files touched children and did heinous crimes, and that's not something that is excusable. In other news, a congressman has read 6 names of men who were redacted in the Epstein files. California Representative Ro Khanna and Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky have revealed the names of 6 men identified in the Epstein files. The names being Salvatore Nuara, Zurab Mikeladze, and Lenok Lenov, Nicola Captuo, Sultan Ahmed bin Salimin, and Leslie Wexner. Of course, these are the first 6 names to be read and announced by the House floor from the unredacted files, which is very interesting. The first 3 people that are named seemingly don't exist. You can look them up on Google. You can look them up online. You can look at them, in these articles that have been released about the situation. There's no information about these men at all. Nobody knows who these men are, which is really interesting. All 3 other people mentioned here have influence. They are very powerful individuals, but nobody knows who the first 3 people are, which is odd. There's got to be something there, right? And maybe there's not. Maybe these are just random individuals that are run-of-the-mill people, right? That don't really matter. But for these men to have their names mentioned after being redacted in the Epstein files is still something. And, there are always people out there that we don't know exist. There are always going to be people with unfathomable amounts of wealth that we don't know exist, we've never heard of in the first place, right? That's just something that happens and exists, right? And whether that's what these people are or if there's something else is unknown. But something should be looked into there because nobody has ever heard of these individuals, and that's kind of wild. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight, ICE will be partaking in World Cup security operations. An acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, who spoke to Congress today on a variety of topics in relation to ICE, one of them being if ICE will pause operations for the World Cup. Lyons was asked by Representative Neely Poe if ICE would commit to pausing operations and raids at FIFA matches and events, to which Lyons said the ICE and the Department of Homeland Security would be a key part in the overall security apparatus of the World Cup, saying ICE is dedicated to ensuring everyone visiting will be safe and secure. I have a feeling this is going to create issues, especially if they intend on asking and going around, asking people if they're citizens or, asking them to provide proof of citizenship. Because why does ICE need to be working at security for a sporting event? That makes no sense. Really, it doesn't. There is no reason why ICE should be the security for a sporting event. They are meant for immigration enforcement, not sporting enforcement, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's the same with the Super Bowl. It really just seems like these people are trying to watch the games and get away with doing that for free. Which is another issue in itself, right? But there's no reason why these people should be working security. It really is stupid. Outside of that, though, that's all we have for today. Thank you all so much for watching today's episode. I truly hope you all enjoyed. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated. And if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month. All funds go to me. Helps me pay for the things I need to pay for in my life. Outside of that, though, I think that's all I have for today. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode.